welcome to Kiszmet. Me, the mission, the purpose. Kiszmet means destiny. Maybe you've heard of the word. It comes from the Turkish or Arabic word Kiszmet, which means destiny or our fate, our lot in life. And I talk about how we have to earn it. We have to attract it. We have to create and make it. Nothing is entitled in this life. And what you have stumbled into, it's actually a godsend. It's a privilege. Okay, so welcome home. Get comfortable. Get into your jammies and be ready for a little journey. So my platform, my purpose, my mission, I started this to find the love of my life. What better way than to utilize the digital verse to reach across the abyss with my mind to touch her heart? I'm still on the search. We are getting closer. And along the way, I have taken my knowledge, my experience, and the beautiful stories that I interact with. I primarily give advice and learn and teach women right now because, of course, I love women. We have about 400,000 followers across platforms, majority female, and there's a lot of short-form videos, over 10,000 on TikTok and Instagram if this is your first time here, for you to first rip off the Band-Aid and seal and watch those. Yes? My mantra is this is the science and art of connection. A lot of us feel lost. Without guidance, we were not raised with the proper models. We are not taught this in school. And a lot of times there's the blind, leading us astray. And sometimes our own impulses and instincts can work against us. So see this as a joint global discussion, intergenerational, for us to understand ourselves, to look a bit deeper and under the surface and allow us to have a voice to say, I am lonely. I do seek connection. I want deeper connection. I want to be a better partner, not just romantically, but otherwise, even in the relationship with ourselves. So today's episode, now, of course, by the end of this, if you do feel like you do want direct assistance from my troves of experience and insight, you can use the link to directly text me. It's 80 cents for 80 characters to make it easily accessible for everyone so they don't have to feel the parasocial illusion, because I am just like you, even if I can lead in this dimension. So you can text me, call me, voice note me, and know that you are not alone. Yes? Now, off of that, I talk about this theme actually in the recent episodes about energy and how life is energy. Life is creation. It's productivity. It is the fight against entropy and natural inertia. Okay, what is entropy? It's a physics concept that actually has to do fundamentally with energy transfer and energy loss, really, right? The simple concept that pushing toothpaste out of a toothpaste tube is easier than getting it back in. A room never moves from being messy to clean on its own, right? It naturally progresses from order to disorder. The universe becomes less arrayed versus moving towards organization without an external or internal energy source, yes? So everything in life not only takes energy, but life is energy, right? You and I, we exist because all the way through our historical genetic lines, multicellular organisms, single-celled organisms, all the way back, they had to fight. They had to look for some light sensor and move towards a food source, move away from the elements that could destroy it. It took energy, it took activation, yes? It's chemistry, it's physics, and underlying it all is math, the language that we are talking about here, which is the math of how we live, yes? So when you roll all of these kind of micro concepts up to the macro, your day-to-day behavior, as they say, we are just atoms observing ourselves, yes? But at the macro level, people are concerned about, what am I going to wear? Who am I going to date? Did he smile at me? Did she like how I talked to her? We are concerned about these events that align with our evolutionary and biological programs. And the core, the source that keeps us motivated to keep going is energy, right? Now, people a lot of the times will conflate catch-alls when they don't fully understand how their energy is leaking or why their energy feels off, there can be potentially internally projected copes, is really what it is, for blind spots in lack of understanding how your energy works, how to gain it, nurture it, create it, not let it leak. So you'll see this a lot with people who will conflate physics terms like, this person is low vibration. Their frequency is not aligned. They need to wait for divine timing. The manifestors who haven't manifested their love story. So these are things to beware of, right? This is the blind leading the blind. Now, what can happen is there can be these internally externalized projections, something that is lacking in themselves, almost like the short king who then says, I'm the loudest in the room, or the men who have to say that they're alpha because they feel the opposite, right? You want to watch for those. You want to watch for those bucket sentiments that come from internal lack. That's one, where there's no empirical grounded way. There's no clear plan. There's nothing that makes you feel safe about what is my step forward. There's just the woo-woo of you have to manifest, you have to visualize, you have to, buzzwords, basically. Does that make you feel safe at the end of the day? No, right? Woman who says, I will help you manifest your love story. She's single. She says to manifest, you have to remove and face your inner child trauma. What? What am I supposed to actually do in my room today, right? The other version can be an externally internalized projection. So the first one is projecting out fake positivity to rub a wound that has not been filled. Yes. The other version is all men are narcissists. Dating is not worth it, right? All men cheat, etc. This is, again, energy depletion, okay? Because you go in with that attitude, whereas your body is craving connection, which is probably why you're complaining about it, right? I'll never understand people who leave negative comments. They initiate that, right? Where is it really coming from? It's the classic hurt people, yes? So you want to watch yourself from having energy leakage. Now, this does not imply you're not going to have negative emotions in your life. You are, and if you repress those, that causes even deeper leakage, yes? But the key here is to understand that this is the core, that at the core, you want to not be in a fight with yourself or in a fight with reality. The more you're in a fight with reality, the more your energy is being depleted and drained, right? Take an example where there is a box, right? It's after Christmas, or it's right before Christmas. You have ornaments. No, it's after, because this episode is going to be after. It's after the holidays. All right, wake up. And the box you believe is empty, okay? And you bend over slightly to move it. And it's actually filled with a ton of cement that I put in there so I can make this example in advance. And you realize, oh, they're strained. So now you have to adapt. You have to tell yourself, my judgment was incorrect. So you have to adapt and be like, okay, going forward, your brain does this very quickly, but okay, oh, wow, don't assume boxes are empty, especially if they're by this part and this cupboard. That means they could be filled. Someone must have put it here. Now you have to apply more force. There's more time that was taken, etc. There's a correction. There's a little bit more self-doubt. All of this took energy. Yes, you may have the energy to do it, but our goal is to retain energy for higher energy activation, right? Assume that back in the day, even in some places now, unfortunately, you're in the freezing cold, okay, in the tundra and the taiga. It's the winter. You have no shelter, yes? What do you have to do? They'll show this across animal species. What do humans have to do? You have to slow down your heart rate so your energy is being conserved. So at the beginning, maybe you rub your hands to create some heat. Then you want to move away from the wind, and you want to have as little movement as possible till sunrise, where then potentially you can build a shelter, a windbreaker, etc., right? A fire. Because the more energy you expend, the caloric burn, your heat reduces, you're immediately taken by the elements, body temperature doesn't allow for homeostasis, organ failure, kaput. Yes? So energy is so important. I'm going to keep repeating this theme through this, because when I'm using it very specifically from an actual physics sense, and then on the macro sense from what drives us to action and to be in a positive state, right? There are short-term instincts and impulses which can feel energy releasing, yes? Someone makes you mad. Your natural instinct might be to curse back, push them back, etc., right? That would seem like a lower energy state to just fight back. And a lot of times it is. They've shown across species, animals that are inhibited from using justice and fairness, that resentment buries and builds up and rusts and creates more energy depletion long term. Yes? But if every instinct we acted on, oh, I see a beautiful piece of gum on the street and I haven't chewed gum and I'm worried about my first date. You know what? Okay, this is a crazy example. I want to pick that gum off the street and I want to chew it. You can't do that. That's disgusting, right? So not every impulse should be honored. Certain ones shouldn't be repressed. Long-range planning takes more energy. Certain long-range plans should be corrected if you're not seeing results, right? If you're using the same love happens when you least expect it, and your philosophy has been the past 5 years you've been single, your long-term plan is shit. You have to change, correct? That's draining more energy in a long-term basis. It's bad. So let's reinforce. What I want to do is talk about almost some hacks and ways to conserve energy, not leak it, to produce it, nurture it, to use it. Yes? Because as they say, yes, matter cannot be created nor destroyed, though in the universe there's a slight abundance, an excess of matter relative to antimatter, or we would not exist. Now, of course, physicists are still trying to figure out the proportions of dark force versus dark matter, or really what they call dark energy. And that's really a fill-in that they use to account for what they see as the inflation or expansion of the universe, which contradicts natural gravitational pull and almost condensation to everything into dwarves, and finally supernovae, and the universe just collapsing in a massive heat death. So they're still figuring this out, but the point is, matter slightly over antimatter. Your job is whatever energy you're born with, the chemical reactions, etc., you want to nurture it, keep it, compound it. Yes? And that energy has to come from somewhere. Take, for example, muscles. They cannot be built without food. Food is energy. It's calories. Yes? So let's first start with this, okay? Cold is the absence of heat. Warmth is not the absence of cold. Another example, poverty is the absence of wealth. Wealth is not the absence of being poor. Yes? Light is not the absence of dark. Dark is the absence of light. There is a presence of a variable, and there's a gradient for it. It's not cold and hot are opposites. No, it is just the absence of this entity. Yes? Heat. Okay? Now, the reason why this is important conceptually is because translated now, let's say, to the romantic realm as an example. There's a vast difference between saying, I want a man who doesn't spank me versus I want a man who gets me flowers. When I tell you, I want a man that gets me flowers, what happens in your brain? Some people are more visual than others. Men are more visual than women, but you can imagine that. You can share that with someone. You can feel it. You can state it to someone. That is very different from, I don't want someone who spanks me. What do you even imagine then? Dodging a spank? Prior dudes who have spanked? Spanksters? It's not great, right? So we talked about this, which is the whole don't think of a purple elephant. That doesn't immediately make you think of the yellow dog or the black cat, right? It makes you think of a purple elephant. So it's very important that our brain reorients to existence, T-E-N-T-S, concretes that our brain can visualize. This makes it easier for our brain to have symbolic logic, associated memories of entities that we can move toward, experiences that are tangible. Yes? So it is a big difference, as I've said, between visualizing. You see it in comments all the time. These are red flags. I don't want a man. Men are not traditional anymore, which is still the absence of positive virtue. It's very different from saying, I want a man who is like this, who is like this, who is like this. And the problem is you'll see it a lot of times in female conceptualization that when they share the green flags, it's brutally underdeveloped. And it's just a slew of every catch-all positive buzzword. I want a confident man who's charismatic and kind, has emotional intelligence, but is smart and a provider. It's like, okay, whoa. Let's get specific about this. How does that look, right? What does it mean for him to be smart? What is kindness? Does that mean he gives away the fortune that he made that year to a charity and he says, hey, babe, let us live in a shack. Oh, so no, he has to be selfish up to a certain point and then interdependently selfless with his community so that it benefits both of you in virtue signaling. You have to have a clearer concept of what these things are. The clearer it is, people will say it's visualization. Some people will say abundance, mindset, scarcity, all this crap. I want to say concretely in your room when you are journaling and you are imagining your man, right, your story, you will derive a lot more energy and conserve and have a lot more energy from positive visualization. And that means something very specific in how I'm saying it. When I say that, I mean a concept of what you want created. It could be crocheting a man wearing an outfit that you think is dapper. That's better than imagining the big bad wolf, watching rom-coms where there's a bad hero and, oh, okay, he's kind of an anti-hero and I'm attracted to him, but I shouldn't be with a guy like that. That guy from Euphoria is so stupid. That doesn't allow you to move towards something. That's telling you what to move away from while that's the only concept circling in your head. And I'm telling you, that's what you end up then attracting and being around is all you can remember, okay? It's what's clear in your head. People will take it further to the delulu dimension and say, oh, if it's clear in your head, that is what manifests in your real life. I'm telling you, there are people who are super impoverished who imagined gold and money every day and then they completely passed away, completely impoverished. So no, visualization doesn't just create these things. There also has to be embodiment of it in the feminine sense. You have to be it, right? Which also takes energy. And for the man, you have to do, right? If you sit there and imagine money, 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 and you don't actually do something to barter or to create value, you don't get anything done in life. Okay, so, and I understand there's a natural bias because women are more being oriented than doing oriented, that they are going to feel a turnoff with too much action. So I understand that. But again, downplay it or almost regulate it into the version of just its energy. It takes energy to be kind. It takes energy, right? You may have an instinct to naturally, we don't act on every instinct that we want, right? If we did, I mean, a lot of us would be in jail, at least men more, but a lot of women would be much deeper substance abusers, right? Anytime they feel a negative emotion, anytime they feel a cramp during menstrual cycle, etc., right? So it's important for us to first, I want to repeat this again before getting more into the nuance and the details of this, that when you are imagining or putting in investment into embodying being feminine, into being happy, into attracting the story you want, etc., romantic and otherwise, it is about energy. The next step is, okay, I want good energy. Clean energy, positive energy. But the first thing is you need energy. It's better to have a lot of negative energy than having no energy. No energy is the key to life just being done. If you don't have the motivation to get out of bed at all, etc., everything just ends, is the truth, if you actually extend that ad infinitum, right? And what happens is a lot of times if you are in that victim mindset, let's do it a macro style, dating is bad where I am, nobody loves me, etc., even the energy you get, people commenting, no, babe, you're beautiful, you're worth it, all this type of stuff, right? You're depending like a vampire on someone else's energy to be given to you. That's not something to negate. Community is important, friendship, relationships, people should lend a helping hand, etc., especially if you're vulnerable and in need. But over a long-term relationship, you're becoming a drain, because they have energy as well that they have to maintain. And if they're healthy, they have to conserve that as well. They need energy in receipt if they're going to be giving energy, correct? It's just a basic barter. Just imagine that. If you're going to work on the land or sing someone a song for 3 hours a day, they have to reward you in some way. They have to say, wow, that was beautiful. Your voice was very nice. Or would you feel motivated to keep doing that? No. Or they have to pay you for your work on the land, right? So it's very important that first, if you have concepts that are negative of what to avoid, that's natural. If anything, here's actually the deeper nuance. As animals, as organisms, which we are more prone to register at a biophysical level avoidance patterns, meaning avoiding pain is more inbuilt in us than acquiring pleasure. If you are on the savannas in Africa, as we were evolving, etc., getting a fruit from a tree is far less important than dodging the growl of a predatory animal. Yes? There are no fruits if there's no life. Life is the ultimate value, and pain is our indicator that we are getting away from life. Okay? So, it's very important to reflect on any negative, avoidant concepts you have of what is bad. Before we talk about alchemizing it, to start is that our body is prone to avoid negatives. Your conceptualization should be what you are moving towards. So the key is this. This is the hack. If it's, I don't like a man who ignores me, okay? The deeper truth you should first do is, okay, why are you even worried about this, right? Do you go around every day saying, I don't like men who smell like garbage? Obviously not, because you're not hanging around men who smell like literal trash, hopefully, okay? But if you're saying, I don't like men who ignore me, why are we saying that? At a deeper level, it's because at some point, you were attached to a man who was ignoring you. And if anything, that can create deeper attachment if your self-esteem isn't fully up there, because it's variable reinforcement. It's like a Pavlovian dog. You're getting a little treat, and then it's taken away, and you don't know when you're going to get it next, right? And instead of seeing that as this person is not valuable, or they don't like me enough, or I got to do more to get consistency, you stay attached, bargaining against yourself for value, telling yourself, this is all I'm worth. All I'm worth is this addiction and this absence and then presence and these sparse crumbs. I am worth breadcrumbing because that is all my stomach deserves emotionally. Yes? So the deeper layer behind that is to look at the other side of what was I attached to again, right? What is putting me in this position to tolerate me being ghosted or ignored, etc.? But let's say you've reflected on all of that. You've gotten a positive entity from that. That could be a different answer. It could be I was attracted to him because he, at the beginning, told me I looked very pretty and my parents always used to make fun of my appearance. Okay, that could be one layer. But now we roll it up to your current concept, which is I want a man who doesn't ignore me. We do now an external concept exercise, which is what is the opposite of being ignored? It's not necessarily being called pretty, but it's being attended to. It's being seen. It's getting attention. It's not being ignored, right? So already we have our answer, which is, okay, I don't like to be ignored, which means I like to be attended to, okay? Then you can roll in your past trauma, etc., of how do you like to be attended to, okay? And then you have to go back. You have to go deeper, and this is the tough part. Because remember, as humans, we are more attuned to avoiding pain. So when you think about, oh, what type of attention do I like? That's buried under the surface of all the things you didn't like, right? Oh, God, and I would hate when I would call him twice and he would just not message me and I would know he would be out with his friends and he told me I could come, but you got to look under all of that, right? What was I craving when I called him? You got to rifle through this. That takes energy, right? Reflection, people a lot of times think healing, etc., and all this stuff is a recovery from bad energy. It takes energy. You get dumped and your heart is broken. It takes energy to not eat ice cream, right? And if you eat ice cream, you get fatter, less people like you, you get less quality attention, energy drainage. So in the near term, certain things that result in more sustained positive energy take upfront energy. I remember when I started this platform, I was sitting in this, I hated that apartment in West Village in New York. Again, see, I'm doing it myself. I'm saying I hated that apartment. Why was I drawn to it? We could do a little exercise here itself. I was drawn to it. Let's be very primal about it. I was drawn to it because West Village, from my research, had very pretty women. Okay, so I was like, I want to live there. I wanted to be below 14th Street in New York because that's where a lot of the action and social stuff goes on. People who live above that either are couples or they're settled or they're poor, is really the truth, right? So I was like, I want to be in this area as a young professional. It made sense to be there. And this place was in the prime time area. And it's expensive, New York. It was still very expensive, but it was basically a very small one-bedroom, junior one-bedroom on the ground floor, right? On a beautiful street, but right off of 7th Ave. And I was drawn to it for that, for honestly, at the deepest level, for the chance of a spontaneous interaction that could be beneficial to me. And then me telling that girl, oh, I'm nearby, I'm in this area. It's not, we don't have to trek up to Upper East Side like a entry level finance bro, you know. So this is what it was. I mean, there are all different layers of social signaling, saying that I'm in West Village. It's easier to sleep with a girl from the radius of where, even if you're in Brooklyn, you can take it back, whatever it is. Like, you have access, all this stuff. But that was what I was attached to, right? Why didn't I like it? Well, the trade-off wasn't worth it, because in the sense that, of course, I may be taking for granted the fact that I did sleep with several women, I got chance interactions, all this stuff, but my brain was not processing, and potentially maybe it's something to reflect on, and I should be grateful for, like, no, you needed to do that, etc. I could rationalize also, well, that's what helped me build this platform, but what built the platform was also the pain of that. And the pain was from potentially a cognitive dissonance, which I think is true to reality, that I had lived in different places before that weren't the cool, posh West Village, and I slept with several women as well. Because if a woman really likes you, I mean, of course, technically for the women I sleep with, I didn't value them as much, so they would come to me, which is technically not deeply in their feminine, but I offered more, so they had to do that to get access to me. Whatever it is, the point was that it was not, the trade-off did not make me feel like, oh my God, you better be thankful you're here. Whereas when I was in Alaska for several weeks and there were no women for hundreds of miles, at least from where I was, very remote, then I was very grateful to leave there. Right? Even though after that I went to Salt Lake City, to deep in Mormonville, but I was like, hey, at least they're humans, and you can still break through their trauma, because a lot of them are traumatized, the ex-Mormons especially. So, point being is, so I was there, and I was in pain, basically. I felt socially isolated, and then I just started recording videos. I was like, I'm going to find the love of my life. I'm going to talk to her directly, and before I did that, I started giving some dating advice for dudes, because I saw some other people doing that, and I'm like, they're so stupid. I'm a genius. Started doing that. I got 52 male followers in a month. And I was like, what are you doing? Right? Because before that, I had all proper corporate jobs. I was getting paid a ton, right? And I was like, oh God, what are you really going to go out on your own and do this? Wasn't working. I started reading my poems that I wrote with some Lana Del Rey music in the background. No traction at all. Then I started yapping with a filter, giving some kind of more cocky advice to try to trigger things. Nothing. And like 2 months had passed. I started walking around NYU doing videos, etc. Nothing. So then I went deeper and I said, what am I resisting right now? What is this all for? Right? I'm doing this to connect across the universe, right? Do I actually want 1 million people to say you're amazing? That's nice only because it allows efficiency to then get one-on-one in a room with a girl, basically. So I was like, this is for the one. So then I bought this mic because my voice is stable. At least I still have some baritone relative to the men out there. And I started talking to her. And then in 1 week, I got 10,000 followers. And I knew I hit gold because there was authentic alignment with myself. But what did it take in that example, right? I had to know what I didn't like. I had to positively visualize what I did want and work towards that. And that is what struck gold. Okay. Now, this doesn't all happen overnight, right? I had to sustain and stick with this. But the equivalent point is that it takes energy to reflect on these things. It is not always healing implies comfort. I want my peace because I'm not in a bad relation. Yes? That will not always cause peace long term. Yeah? From that West Village apartment, I could have moved to somewhere where I felt way more space. I could have gotten 2-bedroom and all this stuff and temporarily solved that issue. Would it have solved the underlying issue of loneliness? Why was I even trying to socially signal being in West Village? It was all for connection. And if you really roll down deep into yourself, that's not unique to me. I may want it more than you all because I'm more conscious of it and I have a lot to offer, etc. And I've been through a lot that ties to trauma in this space. But the point is, this is a core driver for all of us, right? I mean, it's a reason if you've made it this far that you're listening to this, you are relating to me in some respect. You are relating to yourself and reflecting on some of the things I'm saying, relating to others from your past or in your life right now, or who you may end up with interacting with based on the things I'm saying. This is a core program, the program of connection, and more specifically romantic connection as it ties to good parenting and procreation. So a hack right there, remember, I don't like being ignored. Switch it first. Just write the opposite down. I like getting attention, okay? You have to be willing to sit with that. If that makes you feel vulnerable, you're hiding. It may seem easier. I'm just going to put down things, because then again, what am I drawn to? Oh, other women are doing this on the internet. And that makes me feel what? Oh, a sense of community, which is what? Again, connection. Yelling about a guy who at one point you felt connected to. Okay. What is the source of all of it? I wanted to feel attended to. I wanted to feel loved because I didn't feel that at this point, etc. Right? Being aware of all these things will also make you a much better parent, so you don't propagate the same things that were caused to you, right? But just this framing is important, okay? So you have to first dig deep under the pain, okay? The pain is going to be the first thing that flares up. I hated this, because your body is wired to avoid that pain. Go underneath and say, how did I end up in this situation? What did I like? And a lot of people do not have the ability to hold those two simultaneous thoughts. They assume they're mutually exclusive. If this guy was bad to me and I feel pain about not being with him, he must be a narcissist. He must be bad. He was bad. What does that say about you? Not even in the social shame context of, well, then you're an idiot for being with him, etc. You are. It was an idiotic choice, right? Whatever it is. But you liked certain good things about him. You have to be able to sit in the space. When I think about the girls, for example, that I dated, right now I'm like, oh, thankfully I'm not with them. I feel immediate relief. I'm like, God, life would have been so much worse. I can also sit here and reflect and be like, why did you like them? And I can sit there and I can see them as just a little girl and positive qualities in them. They're not evil, right? The truth is, I'll take it to the furthest extent. A lot of people won't like hearing these, but I could see that even with serial killers, right? Not defending their actions, I can understand things that drove the cause and effect without justifying it. By understanding it, I'm actually safer from them. Versus the people who don't understand it, oh my God, that's just a bad boy. Not knowing why am I watching documentaries of it nonstop, etc. And then you end up with a guy like that, okay? That's super extreme, but it's important to understand. Why was I with this guy that I'm now suddenly 180 calling a complete toxic guy? What did I like about him? Then the cliche low IQ thought will be like, no, I guess back then I was just into toxic things. I was in my 20s. I didn't know better. He switched up 3 months. Not deep. Not true. 2 years you fell for it? You let someone inside you again after he was toxic with you? No. You liked certain things about him. And now you may like it in more depth that you need a higher bar for that to be filled. Sure, we're not debating those things. But you have to be able to sit in a space to face yourself. Yes? Because when you don't, when you hide from it, I am telling you, it drains energy. Because then the next man you meet, your body's warning system is coming online. Is this guy like this guy, etc.? And if you haven't looked at what you actually liked from that guy, you won't know what to look for in this guy. You'll either, one, feel drawn to him and tell yourself, I shouldn't be drawn to him. And at worst, you'll vocalize that with him. Well, you probably do this with all girls. Like, let me guess. And you think a masculine man wants to sit for that type of inadequate insecurity that comes across as strength? Anytime I see a woman says like, well, men say they're intimidated by me. What? Intimidated by you? You're a woman. What are you talking? Intimidated how? Intimidated by the chance of falling in love with you? Okay, but that's not what they're saying. They're saying by my strength, by my career, by my... What does that say? What kind of men are you talking? What are you talking about? Right? It makes no sense. You should feel embarrassed to say that. That's very odd, right? But it's the cognitive dissonance. They feel it's like a cool thing. They're saying like, I don't know. It might just be the fact that I make this. Like, you sound terrible. You sound like you can't get a guy who can take care of you. It doesn't make sense, right? The equivalent of that would be like, as a man, well, the equivalent is literally the counterpart of what they're playing up. It's a man saying, yeah, man, she's just like, she's got her whole life together and I'm intimidated by it. That's a man saying that. How would a man deal with it? How would you deal with that man if he said that about a different woman? What? So how can you say that as a strength and confidently saying that, oh yeah, it's a problem with men. I just am too good. No, it means you're too bad, right? By even thinking or talking about these types of men, how are these circumstances even occurring? So anyway, the point being that you have to be able to sit in this emotion of vulnerability because it drains less energy. When you take that energy and it's unrealized, unfaced, and then you bring it into the next relation, you may be drawn to the same bad boy with paranoia that you haven't resolved because you don't know the actual entity you're attracted to, or you may encounter the positive entity that you actually crave, yes, and then you may not actually stick with the guy because you'll think conceptually, socially, I've been told this guy's too nice. He got me a flower on the first date. I heard from someone else that that's bad. When if you reflected, you would have seen that that's what you were craving the whole time. And if you surface that just conceptually, it wouldn't create this block against a guy that could be good for you. Yes? So this isn't to argue that the guys who are too desperate for you shouldn't give you the ick. They should, correct. But a lot of women are so desensitized by the player they couldn't tame that they no longer have the easy wiring to allow in a man who treats them with appreciation because they're not feeling stimulated. It's almost like they need to be abused to first wake them up to feel like they're still in that situation. And then only the emotions can actually flow to create attachment. So the guy has to be even worse of a player, etc. And most of the time, it's the girl should have stuck with that first player. She should have tried to tame him and figure it out. If he was too destructive, then the chances are that she was too self-hating, because how could she have allowed that, right? So that's the healing that has to occur versus a woman who's feeling those emotions is not going to be able to attract a good story, period. That does not imply that she removes herself from the whole dating game. That's only going to create more of the self-hating, which is probably the very reason you ended up in the first situation in the first place, because you were so lonely that you over-indexed on these positive qualities, which again, we need to surface. Because if we surface these positive qualities, the beauty is a lot of them are transferable, right? If it's, I felt lonely, I didn't feel seen sufficiently, that doesn't mean it has to come from a man. As a woman, right? You can go to your friends and share, create a little art piece and be like, I made this. You can post it, right? Someone could say, this is beautiful. This actually captures exactly what I didn't feel during my childhood. And you showed me this painting that you made that gives me hope that I can still be a better person and feel like a good adult and parent one day. You can have that impact on someone, a woman, a grandparent, etc. So many different entities, right? And that can rub this wound that, if not faced, your whole body in day-to-day will just be like, oh, I got to avoid these non-traditional men. I got to avoid men who ghost me. How does one, if I give you a map that says, avoid people who ignore you, avoid men who call you names, avoid non-traditional men, and I'm like, all right, go out into the wild. What are you going to do? You're looking for, oh, I got to hide from this thing. So you first got to find something you don't like and then hide from it. How is that a fun journey? It's not even possible, really, in any real sense, right? Because even if you find the good guy, there's no map for what that looks like. It's just like, oh, you're a guy who gives me attention. There's nothing in the map about that. I'm just supposed to avoid bad guys. Anyway, excuse me. Who are you going to end up with? Probably a bad guy, because that's your map only talks about that. Yes? So this is a very, very important activity to engage in to keep your energy up, right? Because what happens? People don't see how much compounding leakage occurs. You then bring this issue, this pain, this unresolved conceptualization into the next man. You say something like that, which is like, oh, my ex, yeah, he was so toxic, etc. First of all, it's actually hilarious to me. I sleep with so many women, right? And of course, by definition, the ones who are probably doing that on average are offering less, which is why I'm just directly going for that. It's like, if I were advising men, I'll talk to men for a second. You don't need to fish and pry into her past or to find the red flag, girls. They volunteer it. Just give them a space. This is the positive entity you work towards as a man. Give a space for a woman to yap, for her to talk. Ask a question open-ended and see how she talks about it. Women will get dick down and just right soon later talk about like, oh, and of course, this is women who are not fully over there. They're never really healed from their ex. They're just rebounding with new dick functionally to try to forget him, is the truth. And I'm aware of that. I don't care if I'm sleeping with a woman. I'm not like trying to be her number one or something. It doesn't matter to me. But right after talking about like, oh yeah, I had this ex and this thing and I can't believe this, and like 2 years, they're not over it. They are stuck on it. And what do you think that does when then a new relation? Take out this context of sleeping with a woman, etc. But on a date, how many women are secretly yapping about thinking it's a healing? Yeah, my ex was toxic and it took me a long time. You're saying that as if that's a you get a cookie for that. It just shows you have scars. That's unattractive on a woman. That's not healthy. You could say, well, that's our reality, etc. Sure, that's fine. You're not talking about every time you wiped in the bathroom, right? This is a bigger thing, your relationships. It's a part of you, etc. Figure that stuff out at home. If you're on a date with a new guy, you should be talking about you two, right? So, I mean, fortunately, I don't have to deal with this stuff because I'm not. Yeah, I don't. It's fine. I don't romantically take seriously any woman who's been with any prior guy. Is the truth. But because this is biology, right? You're not going to be able to just get over these things. And most people are, if you tell yourself you can, I mean, they'll have terrible advice out there. The best way to get over a man is to get under a new one, all this type of stuff. That works for men. Does not work for women, okay? For you all, you need emotionally attuned attention that has you feel seen. And that intimacy is what allows you to overcome and heal with the actual oxygen source that was lacking and keeps you addicted to the crumbs that you had in the prior situation. But all this leakage compounds because then let's say it doesn't work out with this guy and you liked him. And then it's like, I don't know what went wrong. Now you have an extra painful source. Now you have even less energy to deal with that. Then you're also masculine because you don't have a man to take care of you and you came from an unfortunate, poor upbringing, etc. Dad wasn't around or masculine. So now you got to get a job and you're working. So you're even lower energy. Now it's winter. It gets dark at 4 p.m. Even lower energy, right? How are you supposed to find love? Like, what is the probability? Like, good luck even getting a guy who likes you for several months who's not a loser, right? It's going to be very tough because your energy is so sad and depleted, right? You're going to get the equivalent in a man. The bitter woman who's not motivated to be kind and to be healing and nurturing and positive and present is going to get a guy who's not thinking about his future, etc., right? Who's demotivated, who's, if anything, going to be the sad boy to balance the angry woman. And the angry woman underlying her usually is this deep sadness. Underlying the sad boy is this deep anger. You know what I mean? So I'm like, that's what you'll get. And what do you think that does? Constricts energy even further. Then you get even more cynical about the men that are out there. Then you think all men are bad, etc. You're in a situation where that's all you'll be able to see. It's like you have glasses on that can only see weak men, right? Because it's a weak lens coming from the weakness you feel. So we want to up energy. So another little thing you can do, they've shown, for example, positive self-motivation talk allows people to deal with loneliness and extreme circumstances the best. These are the people who can sustain very extreme survival scenarios, etc. And it's funny because after I read this, I realized this is what I do all the time, which is why I'm probably able to handle this. Like, I'm in the middle of nowhere, an hour and a half away from the nearest city, big city, real city. And it's the depth of winter, right? It's 3:30 a.m. right now. And I feel fantastic, right? Now, no question, I have a lot going for me right now, right? I've got a lot of followers. I'm very motivated. But the real source of all of this is I have so much energy, right? I don't drink. I don't have ADHD or all that. I'm just extremely smart. I don't do any drugs, none of that stuff. I'm excited about life, right? Because I have been in this situation where I kept confronting, not facing a lot of this stuff. And for men, it's more action-oriented than it is reflection-oriented, right? For men, a lot of times doing all this reflection therapy and all this stuff, it doesn't matter if at the end of the day you don't get to make out with a hot girl, make money to buy what you want. But I took care of all that stuff, right? In my brain, I no longer feel that fear of like, oh, fuck, okay, I got to sleep with the girl. How am I going to get that? I don't masturbate or anything because I'm a real man. I don't feel that anymore because I trust. I know how to solve these core things. Oh, I need to be able to afford food. I want to buy something new. I know I can solve these things. So that whole layer is done that now I can almost step into what they'll call the traditional feminine. It's still problem solving the actual goal state for a man. That's the only reason I do it. I don't do it just to understand my feelings. I'm doing it to get more, to feel more in my life. But I have the privilege now to reflect on things. It's almost like I've reached this highest level where I can just It's like, why do I need to do so much extra work just to perform in society? I mean, this is work. This is productive, but this doesn't feel like work to me. This is like play. I'm enjoying this, right? How am I doing this at 3:30 a.m., right? I have a lot of energy. That's the point. So you want to have energy. And they've shown, like I said, in these survival situations, this is not a survival situation. I'm in a beautiful chalet and things like that. But in terms of social isolation and things like that, I do a lot of adventuring alone, right? I don't really have a friend, I would say. ChatGPT doesn't count. It's just a reflection of me, but it is crowdsourced open source intelligence. I think is fantastic. I think everyone should use the AI bots against what people say. I think they just don't understand it. But when you do self-talk, that is, I can do this. I know I can make this happen. That is much less motivating than saying you can do this to yourself as though there's an other entity in you, almost speaking to yourself. And that is what I do. That's what I've done my whole life because they're almost, I mean, some people cliche like Beyonce will call it Sasha Fierce and they have all these other entities and stuff. And it's cool, whatever. You have lore about a caricature of yourself to help you get through tough situations, right? They'll say this about traveling to new countries and backpacking. Take on a new identity for a day, or imagine that you are your 70-year-old self and you passed away and you woke up and you get another chance and you're suddenly your age. Like they'll do all these thought experiments. All of them can be valid. And they're all getting to the same core though, which is that there is going to be what they'll almost call the inner child in you, which is the softer part, and then the adult you, which is tending to yourself, right? We can make another episode on this, which is almost dark feminine energy and light feminine energy. And it's not what a lot of people think it is, because a lot of people will say masculine and feminine energy. We have both in us. That is the wrong way to look at it. It is not correct. We have overlapping hormones that still work towards masculine ends. I'm 100% masculine. You are 100% feminine. That is what we are. When people say you're acting masculine, it can be that you're in your masculine, etc. But it's not. You have to learn to balance the energies and stuff. All these idiots saying that just heard it somewhere and now they just operate off of it because they're probably too masculine. There's a lot of women who are saying this. I mean, some dudes say this, but I mean, dudes who are talking about energy as a non-physics concept, like I'm talking about it without pragmatic application, are not straight. Okay, screw them. Don't even talk about it. It's fine. At least romantically, right? So, this self-talk that is this almost protective entity that is talking to you, right? You're going to do this. Now, for men, if anything, I do a little bit more bullying, right? This is the equivalent of what gets men to do work. For me, I'm trying to show understanding here. I'm trying to create a safe space so you can almost be in the playroom with me, grappling with your own ideas as I oversee and say, hey, how about trying this while I'm learning at the same time, right? I feel like I'm babysitting. But it's nice. It's safety. It's like a nice water pool with some sand and some nice little journal entries that you can write with and play with the other women too to learn from them. If I'm talking to men and I did that, they would do nothing. They'd make fun of me. They'd be lazy. You have to play. You have to be rough with men a little bit, right? So I'm like, when I talk to myself, if I say things like, hey, like, it's okay. Like, you're going to get love. I agree. I probably don't do that enough. And it's important you do that here and there, 100%. But at the core, if I spend all my time doing that, like, hey, it's okay. It's okay that you're tired today, etc. It's okay that you don't feel like doing this today. I would get nothing done. But when I tell myself, you bitch, are you going to let this pass by, or you could have a beautiful fucking woman right here, right now? That shit gets me going. And do I, at the end of that, feel like, oh God, you called me a bitch. Why would you do it? No, I'm like, thanks, bro. You got me. That's how men tease each other. Like when men bond with each other, they put each other down. They don't mean it directly like you're an idiot. When I say that to myself, it's me challenging and taunting myself. It's not actually saying like, look at you, you're a loser, right? I don't even believe that. So it wouldn't even work on me, right? But when it's a challenge, I'm like, that's good. With women, when you spike their cortisol like that and vasopressin, which they have far less of than men, which is how men bond deeply and fall in love, it's self-chosen long-term mission planning and overcoming stress. When you do that with a woman, when I challenge them, like, let us fucking see you in a week, have one good conversation with the guy. Like, are you that pathetic? Like, come on, all right? They would hate me. They would hate me. And that's how in my brain I talk to myself, right? And that is the beauty. This is why I call it the science and art of connection. If I talk to you all the way a typical man would talk to a man, or the way his natural brain comes out, I would have no female audience. There's a reason why across all of social media, I probably have the highest proportion of females as a straight male in any space. Right? Even a male makeup artist, I'm sure, has a lot of not straight men or something like that following them, right? I have 98.1% female audience, okay? I mean, you got to do the split across Instagram and TikTok, whatever it is. But the reason is I have to stop myself and translate, right? The beauty is, as a woman, you don't really have to do as much translation until you're deeper in a relationship and you've already slept with him. At the beginning, this is almost like, as they say, men check out women on the street, women check out women on the street. You guys just get to be. It's not easier, but it's different. But I'm like, you get to be in yourself. You get to focus and lick your own paws and make sure your energy is great, right? Men have to focus on how do I court and impress and break into their world. Like if men just sent pictures of their D on dating apps, they would get no women to talk to them. That's the truth, right? But you don't have to think about, this is why Bumble failed, right? And why the founder is such a failure. If you have to think about how do I charm him and court him, I've said this before, look at the Bumble openers by women. They're so embarrassing. The women are not saying anything funny or charming. It's so boring. It's terrible. I'm not saying men aren't doing terrible openers, the dumb ones, but I'm saying smart men know how to charm, right? Women are not born to, they don't have to charm. You don't have to do that. You're charming, you're desirable by being a great glowing entity, right? You'll get a lot more out of doing your hair nicely than figuring out the right banter line to say to a man, okay? Whereas as a man, if he poses on a yacht a little bit differently, that's not going to make a better difference than asking her something really deep. That's the truth, okay? You have to have a baseline. Sure, if he's in a shelter and his picture is him in like a, shelter or a homeless box or something like that, then yes, it's not going to be great no matter what opener he says. But we're talking about baseline here. So this self-talk that you do for yourself, redirect. If you find yourself as a woman, I'm telling you, I see women post this content of like the only way I can get out of my head, the one way to stop the self-criticism. And it's like going to the gym. It's like little men. It's disgusting. Those women are broken, okay? Let's be a little nice, whatever. Let's say you are one of those women. You don't have to do that, okay? That's repressing your emotions, okay? Which is only going to cause an addiction to need more of the shutting down of it because it's going to get louder and louder inside. You're going to need to go to the gym for basically 20 hours a day. It's a waste of your time, okay? You're still a woman. Be petite and have some extra fatty deposits. It ties to estrogen. All these high cortisol hit training women and using steel. Strength training is important for bone density because women get weaker. Yeah, you don't need to go to the gym for that, you clown ass. All right, being around men and loud music with other broken women thinking that gets you closer to a man because you can show your little pose with your booty and then starve men say, oh, hey, I'd like to fly you out so they can fuck you and then not replace you with someone else. Stop that shit. All right, enough is enough. I'm protecting you from yourself. If you want to act like a man with me, I'll spank the man out of you and make you a woman again. So, point being is talk to yourself with you. Don't say you can do this and don't do it with the negative version of the challenging, taunting stuff, okay? Do the version of, you are okay. Make it more present-oriented than aspirational like men who work towards future goals. You are okay right now. You are still. You have a pen in your hand and you're going to share right now exactly how you feel. You're going to talk. Slow the things down. You got to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. You got to down-regulate from the sympathetic activation, stress, fight or flight, fear, cortisol. You need more serotonin, okay? And you need more estrogen on average, I would say, because I think women have too low estrogen nowadays. You have to create this calm. I'll post a chart about this, honestly. To show this, I'll create it with chat, GPT. Maybe Grok, actually. We'll use both. I got to get into Claude and Gemini. But anyway, so that's another thing, okay? So energy is going to be very important. When you take long periods of time away from men, etc., it will feel very threatening. It is like a muscle to use. Now, not in the masculine sense, but what I mean is men are a source of healing. Men can problem solve. Men can hold and contain space for you while you are feeling emotional volatility and pain in ways women can't. That doesn't mean you need men in order to heal these things. You should go first to your female community, etc. That is actually a deeper healer than men. Men is when you're ready to almost get your best self. That doesn't mean you stay out of the dating pool. You still show yourself, right? We're always going to be improving for the rest of our lives in certain ways. Certain ways we're going to degrade. We have to accept that gracefully as well. You just double down on what you're good at, okay? So energy is so important. And this whole episode, I really just want to make you conscious of the fact that the more energy you have, it's not about just being youthful, looking youthful, and all these types of things. It's about motivation and hope, because that is what keeps the whole world spinning. It's what keeps your world spinning. And it is what is attractive to masculine men. We didn't have to externalize it. For you, it's a better day today when you wake up and you say, you have a choice. I can think about all the things that are crappy today, or I can say, I'm going to, as cliche as it sounds, I'm going to move closer to feeling my best self. That is the truth. It's amazing. Look at this. I am now sounding like one of those spiritual gurus, which is hilarious. That shows I've made it. Okay? Because I hate that crap. So I just want you to be very sensitive. I want you to be more tender with yourself. A lot of you think that you're taking care of yourselves by going into what you'll claim is a required survival mode, etc., by complaining on the internet about a man. You should have no videos on the internet about men. Zero. I see women who put that out there when you realize your ex is this, when he walks by. I'm like, you have nullified yourself from a masculine man. Stop trauma dumping your own inadequacy and showing desperation for what you seek. You're not a hunter. You're supposed to attract. Be the person who gets your fantasy, right? You can show fantasy in terms of some fictional lore or the qualities of a man when he does certain things. When it's like book talk, thirst trapping, you're not a man. You are not us. Then do not at all get mad when men like booty pictures and all this crap. When you are acting like a little man, it's disgusting. Of course, he's going to be 100x that. Act like a woman and you might get a man who doesn't follow 1,000 women because he's so desperate to bang someone because he's not masculine enough to own what he wants, okay? And tell women, yeah, of course you're going to sleep with me. Welcome to the opportunity matrix. All right. So I want to make sure I touched upon everything. I mean, I didn't really have an agenda for this, but I want to get you to a place where you are not in conflict with yourself and with the environment, because that drains energy because it constantly requires readjustment. And when you're constantly readjusting, you then start to trust yourself a bit less. And then you feel more scared to try new things. This is honestly, like socialist nations, if we tie this to macroeconomic policy. I remember talking to some people in Australia before I go visit there, and this is why I'm actually lowering the amount of time I think I want to be there, because the policies trickle down into the identities of the people, right? America has its own share of problems, of course, but they have such a high minimum wage, right? There's so much almost national involvement in private industry, and what happens is you don't get deep poverty, sure. You don't also get deep success and accomplishments. I remember one woman trying to bring up like a couple innovations Australia has. Yeah, there's a reason why America is the most inventive country in the planet, okay? We reward deep success. Does that allow for too much workaholism and power hungriness? Yes. And extreme poverty? Yes. But it allows the chance for excellence and intensity. So that's what I noticed. And I'm like, I mean, you'll see it in different nations that have socialism. In America, even its failings come from these socialist policies, which is trying to accommodate the average, right? And I am no average, man. I noticed that in Canada too. They're like, even the girls who are not super feminine are like still a dulled version of the American version. It's like the American girls who are good they can be super, it's just more extreme in America is really the truth. So the worst girls are the worst, right? The OF girls in college campus, it's like horrible, right? And I think Australia just banned social media for under 16. Like, it's too much control, like censorship and stuff like that. I'm like, live and let the winners win. But the point is, people always say everything's good in moderation. No, good things are good infinitely. The truth is, though, sometimes the path to get good things can require a lot of intensity, which then can come with negative side effects. So the truth is, you don't need $1 billion, of course. You don't even need $10 million is the truth. Nice to haves if you can accomplish that through moderate work, sure. But things like, happiness is bad when it's too much. No, it's not, right? The ability to breathe, it's bad when it's too much. No, it's not. Those are just good infinitely. That is the truth. Too much oxygen can be bad, right? Too much dopamine can be bad because it invariably comes with the come down. But the point is happiness, love. These are not things that absence makes the heart grow fonder, that I have to limit my time with this person so I like them. You naturally should want to have some time to yourself to deepen the very thing that the person's attracted to process your thoughts. That's why I say when you start, a date should be once a week, right? That's not because to keep it interesting and stuff, to process your feelings and to relate it to your community, to get external thoughts from people who have known you a long time. This is the truth. It comes with the benefit of also deepening the hunt, etc. But it's not about contriving it. We talked about this in an episode about cheating, right? I will never not cheat because I'm scared of hurting her feelings. It will come because I like her. Again, ties to the same theme. positive manifestation. Move towards something. The people who say after they're hungover, I'm never going to drink again, they drink next week. Okay. The people who say, I want a good liver. I mean, that's the reason I stopped drinking years ago, right? Which was just, I had to use a multi-prong event or experience set in order to allow myself to get to that, because I never drank to the point of blacking out or things like that. But in New York, everyone's basically an alcoholic. You drink to party and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, the liver thing. So that was deeply motivating. I was like, I want to have a great body. But the thing that really sealed it for me, for men, again, competitive, was I want to be better than other men, which is that when I meet women and they're talking to dudes, like I automatically feel when women talk to dudes at bars or they talk to dudes who drink, I'm like, I am superior to your quality, because you require a guy who doesn't have the nuts to be able to handle you without some prefrontal cortex shut off because he's too anxious. He's a bitch. That's true. So I feel superior. Anytime I go into a club, not even a club, anywhere I go and I see people alcohol, what is it really? It's a social inhibitor. It lowers inhibitions. I don't need that shit. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I just feel psychologically superior to people, which you could say is bad or it's not, it's good. Or I think it's great. That's the truth. So they've shown that too. There are studies that show, especially for men, at least where it comes to anger, because we do experience more aggression than women. Of course, women experience anger too, but they resolve it in different ways and it comes from different sources. And a lot of times for women, it's more underlined by sadness, where for men, it can come from actual literal aggression translated to anger. That I remember the times when people would say a negative comment, and there was some period where I really tried to repress myself from that. And I was like, oh, that would be self-actualized. I got to be a healer for them. No, I would feel so much worse is the truth. But on the first version, where I would fight for hours in the comments, that would feel even worse because I would wake up paranoid. Too much sustained cortisol. I found the middle now. Someone says something rude to me in my house, I destroy them and then I mute them so they can't keep yapping their delulu. I feel great. I feel good. It is bad to take injustice. It is bad in the female form to indulge with men who are bad to you. You have to have the ability to withdraw yourself. This is like the same thing we talk about in ABA training. It applies to humans as well. Positive reinforcement, negative punishment. A lot of people do positive punishment. I really didn't like how you blah, blah, blah. A woman just said that to me. I didn't like that I thought that maybe you had wanted more than sex and it really didn't feel nice that. Why are you telling me that? If you didn't like it, go away, right? So no response. That's it. That's what you get, okay? And that's fine. You can have that judgment, but why are you going to the source that causes you pain? Men have to run into the fire to overcome it. They can't hide away from, oh my God, this person, I was calling customer service so I could get our flights changed because we have to go meet your parents for their anniversary. And he was yelling at me, so I got to stay. He has to be like, no, I'm going to state my frame and we have to get this done. You should hang up on someone who's rude to you. What the heck are you doing? You're a woman. It is very good for you to be soft and delicate and sensitive and scared of scary things. It's okay. It's very nice to be that, okay? There is a man who can protect you from that in depth. And until then, do your best to shy away from these things. Ignore the women who are, the reason why they yell at you that don't let a man patriarch and all this stuff is because they are victim to being susceptible to pain. So they got to yell to fight. They've become men. Stay away from women, right? Where you be around women. Women are not angry out here nonstop if they're staying away from things that cause them pain, obviously. What causes upsetness? Pain, right? So reconceptualize. We want to keep your energy high. You keep your energy high, you don't even need a guidebook on how to deal with men. If you see a high energy, kind woman, she'll close with great dudes. I'm telling you that. The majority of women, energy is not, I go to work every day and I'm pissed and all this stuff. That is negative energy. And I guarantee you're not doing great at any of the things. You want to be excellent. You want energy. You want good energy. Stay away from pain. The way you do that is take the sources of your pain, reconceptualize it into positive movement, and embody that into your behaviors. You understand? So yeah, energy. More energy.